What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and if you are a New York Rangers fan, you are going to want to sit down for this one, because today we have got some serious news coming out of New York. And when I say serious, I mean the kind of stuff that keeps general managers up at night, the kind of information that gets dropped quietly and then spreads like wildfire across every hockey forum, every podcast, every group chat you're in, and by the time you see it trending, you already wish you had been the first one to know. Well, today you are going to be the first one to know, so let's get into it right now. So a new report has dropped, and it is pointing very clearly in one direction. The New York Rangers are not done making moves. Not even close. We have already seen this front office be aggressive this offseason. We have already seen them make some eyebrow-raising decisions, but according to people close to the situation, according to sources that have been consistently reliable when it comes to Rangers news, there is more coming. There are more pieces being moved around the board, more conversations happening behind closed doors, and more roster changes that could fundamentally alter what this team looks like when they lace up for opening night. Now, before we get into the specifics of what the report is saying, I want to give you a little bit of context, because context matters here. The Rangers have been in a fascinating spot for the last couple of seasons. They made a deep run, they showed the hockey world that they were a legitimate contender, and then the offseason came and Chris Drury had some decisions to make. Some of those decisions have been popular, some of them have been controversial, and some of them have been flat-out painful for the fan base to watch. But whether you agree with every move or not, what you cannot argue with is the fact that this organization is clearly operating with a very specific vision in mind, a very specific blueprint, and right now, they are in the middle of executing that blueprint in real time. The report that came out, and I want to be clear about what it's actually saying and what it is not saying, because there is a lot of speculation out there right now, and I am not in the business of passing speculation off as fact. The report indicates that the Rangers have been actively engaged in trade discussions with multiple teams. Multiple. Not one or two exploratory conversations. Multiple teams. And the discussions are not described as casual or early stage. They are described as serious. That word was used specifically. Serious discussions. Which in NHL front office speak, that is a meaningful distinction, because when talks are described as serious, it typically means we are past the point of just feeling things out. We are getting into actual framework. We are talking about actual players and actual picks and actual returns. Now here is where it gets really interesting, because the report does not name a single specific player by name, which I know is frustrating. I know you want me to say the name and we can all react, but what it does do is give us a profile of what the Rangers are reportedly looking for. And the profile is very telling. The Rangers are reportedly prioritizing physicality on the back end. They want a defenseman who can eat minutes, who is not afraid to play in front of the net, who can handle the rough stuff that comes with playoff hockey when the other team is trying to park bodies in your crease and make your goaltender's life miserable. That profile has been a recurring theme in conversations around this team for a couple of years now, and it sounds like Drury is finally making a serious push to address it. But that is not all. The report also mentions, and this is the part that is going to get people talking, that there is a possibility, not a certainty, a possibility of a significant forward moving in the other direction as part of a deal. Now again, no names, but the language used is significant forward, and in the context of the Rangers' current roster, that narrows things down pretty considerably when you think about it. You have a core that is essentially untouchable. Panarin, Trocheck, Kakko is probably safe given his trajectory, Chytil is probably safe, but outside of that circle, there are names that have been connected to trade rumors for a while now, and this report seems to be suggesting that at least one of those conversations has become more than just background noise. Let me also touch on the cap situation for a second, because you cannot talk about Rangers moves without talking about the salary cap, and right now the Rangers are in a position where they have to be creative. They do not have unlimited flexibility. Every move they make has to be constructed carefully, every piece has to fit together like a puzzle, and that is why when you hear about serious discussions involving a significant forward going out and a physical defenseman coming in, you start to wonder what the salary differentials look like, what picks might be attached, whether there is a third team involved to make the math work. These are the kinds of multi-layered deals that Drury has shown a willingness to engineer, and based on everything we are hearing, that engineering is happening right now. I also want to address something that has been circulating in parallel to this report, which is the goaltending situation. Igor Shesterkin is, obviously, the backbone of this franchise. He is one of the best goaltenders in the world, and he is not going anywhere. That needs to be said clearly. But there has been chatter about the backup situation, about whether the Rangers feel fully comfortable with what they have behind Igor, and whether they might look to upgrade or at least add some depth and insurance there. The report does not go deep on this, but it does acknowledge that the goaltending depth question is something the organization is aware of and has not completely closed the book on. So keep an eye on that, because if another goaltender becomes available at a price that makes sense, I would not be shocked if the Rangers pick up the phone. Now let's talk about the timeline, because this is important. We are not talking about something that is months away. The report is suggesting that these discussions are happening now, that the Rangers want to have their roster in a certain shape before training camp, and that means the window for these moves is relatively tight. There is urgency here. There is a real sense that Drury wants this team walking into camp with its identity clear, with its depth chart settled, and with no major question marks hanging over the room. Whether that urgency translates into a deal getting done in the next few days or the next few weeks, nobody knows for sure, but the clock is ticking. I have also seen some fans online questioning whether this is all a smokescreen, whether the Rangers are leaking these reports to create leverage in negotiations or to distract from something else entirely. And look, I get that skepticism, I really do, because in the NHL, information is a weapon, and sometimes things get out not because somebody was careless, but because somebody wanted them to get out. But the sourcing on this particular report feels credible to me. It is not some anonymous forum post or a rumor mill aggregator. It comes from people who have a track record, who have been accurate before, and who are not in the habit of throwing things against the wall. So while I am always going to tell you to consume this stuff with a degree of healthy skepticism, I am not dismissing it, and I do not think you should either. What makes this moment so compelling is the stakes attached to it. The Rangers are a team that has invested heavily in building a contender. They have made the playoffs, they have made deep runs, they have shown flashes of what they are capable of, but they have not yet gotten to that final destination, and the front office knows it, the players know it, and every Rangers fan sitting at home watching this right now knows it. So every move made this offseason is being made through that lens. What does this do for our Stanley Cup chances? Does this make us harder to play against? Does this give us more options when it matters most? And based on this report, it sounds like Drury is asking himself those exact questions and making aggressive moves accordingly. One more thing I want to say before we wrap up, and it is something I think is worth sitting with for a second. The Rangers have consistently surprised people. They surprised people when they made their run. They surprised people with certain trades and signings that looked questionable at first and then made more sense over time. And I think there is a version of what is coming that surprises people again, in a good way, in a way that makes Rangers fans feel genuinely excited walking into a new season. The bones of this team are really good. The core is elite. The coaching staff knows what it is doing. And if Drury can add even one or two of the right pieces, physical presence on the blue line, maybe a little bit of forward depth reinforcement, this is a team that should be taken very seriously. So stay locked in, stay close to the channel, because as soon as we get more details on exactly who these discussions involve and what a potential deal might look like, you are going to hear it here first. Drop a comment below. Tell me what you think the Rangers need most right now. Tell me who you think gets moved, who you want them to bring in. I want to hear all of it. Smash that like button if you want to keep this Rangers coverage coming. Subscribe if you are not already part of the family, and I will see you in the next one. Let's go Rangers!